So why spiritual alchemy? What is spiritual alchemy? A lot of people have different ideas of what alchemy is. So let me explain what alchemy is, or at least my definition of what alchemy is. Alchemy, as we know it throughout history, or as we hear in the legends of Merlin and the wizards of the medieval times and whatnot, it's the turning of lead into gold. And you can imagine, you can probably visualize the wizard in his workshop with all his little potions and his gold, not his gold, his metals and whatnot, and trying to turn lead into gold. Well, we seem to have taken that a little bit too literally, and for me, alchemy is more of an inner alchemy. It's turning the base material of our earthly existence into that golden awakened existence going on. So, what we're doing now is we want to be able to expand from the base metal of ourself, the base, how should we say, the base awareness, our lowest awareness, and evolve and expand that awareness, expand our energy, expand our spirit, expand our soul to that golden awareness. We talk about the golden age and many things. So the golden age could easily be those who have done the inner alchemy, who have done the work and have expanded an enlightened society, perhaps, or enlightened individuals living together and creating a golden age, so to speak. Anyway, so that is just a loose interpretation of what alchemy itself is. Now, for me, it is about spiritual alchemy. It is not about, this hocus pocus, let's turn lead into gold stuff, putting a pinch of this and a pinch of that on a Bunsen burner and creating gold and becoming rich and whatnot. For me, it's completely the opposite. It is spiritual alchemy to me is the process of achieving higher consciousness. And as I said, many people ask me, well, what is your process? What are your exercises? What do you do? And while I do talk quite a bit about meditation, the actual roadmap that I use, I usually just keep for uh, workshops and courses and whatnot. And I mention it a little bit on the show, but I don't think I've ever actually sat down during a broadcast or during a weekly show to cover what my roadmap is and the way that I see it. So we're going to start with the basics. And I know for a lot of people, it'll probably just be a refresher course or whatnot, but I do feel it's important for us to be able to know what the map looks like in order to go through those channels, go through that highway into higher consciousness. Ever so quickly, I'll do a quick overview first by saying that I personally feel, and the way that I do it is literally starting with the physical body, working with the chakra system. I feel the energy of my body elevating through my chakra system, connecting with my, how should we say, my third eye, and then up above my third eye into my spirit chakra, and then expanding that outward to encompass, the next layers of my body, and connecting above my head all the way into what we would call source consciousness. And I know that sounds very abstract, so that's why I'm doing this. I want to kind of break it down a little bit and share what do I mean by that. Yeah, it all sounds nice and fluffy, but how do we actually do it? And again, we have to start with the idea of the roadmap. What does the roadmap look like? So I was talking about, I start off with my energy body. I start by grounding myself. I start by feeling my body. I start by scanning my body through meditation, of course. I'll meditate. I'll feel my body. I'll feel my toes. And if you ever do the meditations with me, I usually do take you through your physical body to relax your physical body so we can allow the energy, the chi, let's call it chi for those who are not necessarily accustomed to just saying energy. What is chi? Life force energy, Reiki, prana, universal love, whatever you want to call it, God. It's life force energy, and it's used in many different terms, but We use the grounding and the relaxing and the scanning of our body to begin to open up our physical selves to allow this energy to move through us. But we have to understand what are these energy bodies? I call them the energy field, the human energy field, or the energy bodies, and there are five of them. Now, our human body consists of five layers of energy. The first layer is your physical body. It's the body that we touch. It's the body that we see reflected in the mirror. It's the outer four layers of energy that surround the first layer are referred to as our aura. So when we talk about the aura, we're talking about the other four layers of energy that extend outward from our physical body. And together, these five layers create our entire human energy field. As an energy practitioner, I try to evaluate and treat all layers of my human energy field or the human energy field of someone I'm doing a healing on or any type of shamanic work on, whether it be soul retrieval or Reiki healing, whatever it may be. We want to feel and sense all the layers, scan all the five layers of energy around the human body. But again, going back to the map. So, don't feel bad if you don't have the ability to see or to sense the second, third, or fourth, or fifth layers. They look different from people to people. Some people can actually see them. Some people see a glow. Some people actually see a color. And other people, like myself, perceive it through touch or through sensing with the palms. I can feel like a certain vibration or a certain texture, so to speak, for lack of a better term. People use touch, people use scent, people use sound. These are living energies and they have a pulse that can be measured. So, for example, when we're talking about a channeling, for a quick example, channeling is being able to tune into this pulse, be able to tune the pulse of these energy bodies to connect with your higher self, a source energy, a disembodied transdimensional entity, or an advanced extraterrestrial entity, a past loved one who passed on, whatever it may be. But it's about tuning these energy fields just like a radio. But beyond that, again, I'm trying only to stick to the map here. Let's start with the physical body. You know, the physical energy body is the first layer of our energy bodies. It is a layer that we generally think of as our physical self. It's the solid self. It is the package that holds spirit. It's a package that holds our soul, our consciousness. But it does consist of flesh. It consists of bones. It consists of blood, organs, blood cells. But also, we have to remember that our physical bodies are energy, especially when we're talking on the quantum level. All those atoms, all those molecules are energy. Same as the other layers of the body. Most people can't see or sense this on a physical level, but it is there. It is physical energy, an energy that is basically holding our bodies together. An incorporation of atoms, of molecules, of gravity, of well, for that matter, consciousness. Then the physical body, again, being that full of bones, of blood, and whatnot, that is our home. So when I'm mapping this out, I try to be very, again, I talk about staying grounded, being grounded, feeling the body, scanning where we might have any pains, any blockages, any tension. And while I'm doing my so called inner alchemy, I do what I can to relax it and to bring focus to it. Moving on with this map, we're going to move on to the second layer of the human body, which is the etheric energy body. It's the etheric layer of our body, and it's located about a quarter to a half inch, but probably not more than an inch away from our physical body. It's like right there. Some people have called it the astral body because it's not really a higher dimensional body, but it's our etheric body. It's kind of where our vibration and our energy permeates from our physical body. Um, those of us who do energy work or do Reiki healing, or again, shamanic energy practitioners, we feel this usually very little more dense than other energy forms. Some people call it webby. Some people sense it almost like I sense it. It's funny that I'm using the word webby because I did some work on somebody yesterday, and it was a cocoony feeling, like the fibers of a cocoon almost, and it feels a little sticky or stretchy. It's been said, and I don't see it like this. People say it's gray or gray bluish in color. It is also referred to as the blueprint or the holograph of our physical body. This might be able to explain where imprints, energetic imprints, are left with ghosts, perhaps, or with poltergeist energy, or something to that effect. And a great example is like heat seeking or night vision goggles or something like that would probably see the etheric body. You kind of see the glow when you're looking through like night vision or something like that. But it does emit energy, right? Well, emit heat, of course, and that heat does create energy. The next part of these layers of this map that I'm talking about, to help us understand as we expand outward a little bit more, we're looking at what we call, or what I call, the emotional energy body. It's the emotional layer of our body. It's the third layer, just located probably within an inch or so, maybe a little bit more, 2 to 3 inches, just away from our body. It's where we hold our feelings. It's where we hold our emotions. It's where we hold our fears. It's also where we hold our joy. It kind of, when we're talking about, and you might have heard it in the past, we talk about Klingons, or we talk about soul fractures, or things like that. It kind of could happen within that body if we think about it. When we talk about Klingons, it's usually some kind of trauma that's like living within our energy body, within our emotional body, that we always fall back on, that we've become accustomed to, that we've created a relationship with. And it's always just lingering just outside of the scope of our physical form. So our fears are there, but our joys are also there. And we can really imprint some beautiful things in our energy body if we would just know where it is. A lot of us don't know that we have this energy body, that we have this emotional energy body. But the reality of it is that this can be a very volatile energy body. Mood swings. I mean, when we've got all these emotions living in this body, especially the older we get, we have so many moods and so many experiences and so many emotions lingering just above the surface. Or, we always talk about going underneath the surface. It's actually going outward above the surface that this stuff lives. So it's good to be aware of it. And when we're doing any type of cleansing or any type of grounding work, it's good to acknowledge the energy body as well. When I teach Reiki 2, this is basically where we focus a lot of the work on, is because we're dealing with emotional healing, healing past trauma, healing past karmic experiences from past lives. All of this stuff kind of lingers in the emotional body area. As we expand even further, we're going to move on to the one, two, three, fourth layer, and that is the mental energy body. Now, there is a difference between the mental and the energy body. The mental energy body is basically where inspiration lives. It's where our thoughts spring from. It's where our belief systems are stored. It's kind of where our story lies. Now, if we think of our story, and you hear me talk about this a lot, we all have a story. Oh, I grew up in Miami. I worked in this place. I hung out with these people. I did this for a living. I became this. I experienced that. I have a story. You have a story. We all have a story. Most of that story lives in that mental energy body. And because it is just above the emotional energy body, it affects how we feel depending on what we're thinking, positive or negative. Our belief systems, whether it is the belief in our story, the belief of who we are, the belief of our religion, the belief of our spiritual practice, the belief of our politics, all of these are just lingering and our thought forms living within this mental energy body. This is where we kind of assimilate everything and sort everything out. You know, it's kind of, think of it almost as the logical counterpart to the emotional body. And this layer, we have our personal truths, we have our perceptions based on our experiences. Think of it almost as, you know, the subconscious. And then as we go out even further, last but not least, we have our spiritual energy body. This is the most further out layer. People really, when they're talking about auras and stuff, they usually do look about a foot or so out, depending on how expanded your spirit is, what mood you're in, what not. The spiritual energy body can expand out to the size of a room, or it could just linger within a few inches of you. But it is the last layer in this map, for lack of a better term. It's where our consciousness is. It's where our higher awareness lives. For me, this represents the higher self. It is the non-biased, non-emotional, non I don't want to say logical, but transcending logic and emotion. This is the observer. This is the where we would tap into source consciousness, where we would tap into our past lives, our Akashic records. This is where we tap into the place where we would have the ability to channel our higher selves, to get universal wisdom, and to transcend much of the obstacles within all of the lower bodies and heal them. So again, this is a part of that map that I'm talking about of for me, this is my goal of my consciousness when I'm doing energy work is I'm going through the layers and I'm expanding myself outward into that spiritual energy body and connecting with universal consciousness. Before I do Reiki, before I do a shamanic healing, before I do a channeling session, before I do a tarot session, and before I do these radio shows for that matter, I want to connect. I like to connect with my, and by the way, this is where your guides live as well. This is where we connect and communicate with our guides, and that's how I actually do connect with my guides these days. It's through this. Um, anyway, so I want to go into. We're kind of done with the first part, and we're coming up on a commercial break in just a few minutes. But moving forward, let me just share with you what's coming up. We're going to be moving. We're going to cover a little bit of the chakras, just very basic chakra stuff, and then I'm going to move into the step by step of what I do, of how important it is to visualize, and whether visualize and what is visualizing. Does it mean a clear picture or a blurry blob, you know, in front of you? Yes, both. You don't have to visualize perfectly. We'll get into that in just a minute, but it's kind of being able to maneuver through the etheric and learning how to be comfortable maneuvering through the etheric as we move through these layers, move through our chakras to connect with our crown chakra and to connect with source consciousness, expanding.